Sayadaw has been explaining about path and vehicles. Kammaskata samadhi, knowledge knowing that good deeds bring good result, bad deeds bring bad result. This Kammaskata samadhi is the path that is foundation. And also there is Upabhaga Magga, preliminary path, which consists of Lokiya jhana, mundane kind of absorption, and also samadhi, concentration. And another kind of path is Ariya Magga, the noble path that leads to Nibbana. So these are the three paths. The first one is Kammaskata samadhi. It is the path that is the foundation. And Upabhaga Magga, it is preliminary path. And Ariya Magga path, noble path that leads to Nibbana. So by following these paths, by following Kammaskata samadhi path, one can be reborn in Sukati or good existences, such as being reborn as a human or a Deva or a Brahma. By practicing Dana and Sila, one can be reborn as human and Deva. And by practicing Jhana, one can be reborn in the Brahma realm. So in order to get to the Kama or the sensual realm, one needs to go by Dana vehicle and Sila vehicle in order to get to the sensual realm. In order to get to Brahma realm, one can go by Samatha vehicle. In order to reach Nibbana, one needs to go by Ariya Magga vehicle. The noble path vehicle needs to be taken in order to reach Nibbana. In order to practice Ariya, to get to Nibbana, one needs to practice Upabhaga Magga, preliminary path. And by practicing Upabhaga Magga, preliminary path, one can get to Ariya Magga, noble path that leads to Nibbana. So one has to practice, one has to go or travel by Samadhi jhana or concentration vehicle, and Vipassana jhana, Vipassana vehicle. And by practicing Samadhi jhana and Vipassana jhana, one can also take Ariya Magga jhana, noble path vehicle. So one has to go step by step. And yesterday, Sayadaw explained about Samatha jhana briefly, and Sayadaw will not have the opportunity to explain in detail. Today, Sayadaw will go on to explain about Samatha jhana, Samadhi jhana, concentration vehicle, and Vipassana jhana, insight vehicle. And one has to follow this path of Upabhaga Magga, preliminary path. And by explaining about Upabhaga Magga, one cannot leave out about jhana. It will only be complete by explaining jhana when one explains about Upabhaga Magga. Jhana means contemplating, concentrating on the object of meditation, and it is called jhana. There are two kinds of jhana. The first one is Aramanupa Nijjhana, and the second one is Lakhanupa Nijjhana. The first one, Aramanupa Nijjhana, is contemplating, concentrating on kasina devices, which are concepts. So contemplating, concentrating on these concepts such as kasina devices, contemplating on these concepts is called Aramanupa Nijjhana. And by practicing Aramanupa Nijjhana, one can attain Upachara jhana, neighborhood jhana, as well as the 8 samapatti or 8 attainments. So in order to attain Upachara jhana as well as the 8 kinds of attainments, one needs to travel by samatha jhana, samatha vehicle, so that one will master these 8 attainments or 8 samapattis. By practicing, by contemplating, concentrating on these concepts such as kasina, one can gain Aramanupa Nijjhana, and one can attain samapatti, 8 kinds of attainments, as well as abhiññana, super normal knowledge, and also one can be reborn in Brahma realm. So these are the benefits of practicing Aramanupa Nijjhana. And also, this Aramanupa Nijjhana could be practiced as a foundation of Vipassana. And for those who are practicing Samatha Jhanika, they can practice Vipassana having this Samatha as the foundation. Based on the foundation of concentration gained through Aramanupa Nijjhana, one can practice Vipassana. But Sayadaw will not explain on detail because we are not practicing the Samatha Jhana. The second one is Lakhanupa Nijjhana. Lakhana here means signs or characteristics of Nama Rupa phenomena that are arising as cause and effect. The characteristics of impermanence, suffering, and non-self are called lakhana. Things are arising and passing away. They arise and dissolve, and thus they are impermanent, and this is anicca lakhana, characteristic of impermanence. And these Dhamma Rupa phenomena, they are constantly arising and passing away, and thus they are suffering, and it is the characteristics of suffering. And there is no atta involved, there is no self involved. Things are happening in their own accord. It is the characteristics of non-self. So these 3 characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self are called lakhana. And these 3 lakhana, these 3 characteristics are and also the sabhava lakhana or unique kind of characteristics possessed by these Nama Rupa phenomena, as well as the 3 characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self are observed by Vipassana jnana, insight knowledge. So contemplating on these characteristics, contemplating on sabhava lakhana, unique or individual characteristic, and contemplating on the 3 characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self is called Lakhanupa Nijjhana. So Vipassana jhana is one of Lakhanupa Nijjhana. So practicing Vipassana jhana contemplates on Sabhava Lakhana, unique or individual characteristics, and also the universal characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self. And contemplating on the characteristic of Nibbana is also Lakhanupa Nijjhana. So contemplating on the characteristic of Nibbana is the Ariya Magga and Ariya Phala Jnana, the noble path and fruition knowledge. So this Lakhanupa Nijjhana deals with Vipassana Jnana, insight knowledge, and also Magga Phala Jnana, path and fruition knowledge. And these three, Vipassana, Magga and Phala Jnana, Vipassana Jnana, Magga Jnana, and Phala Jnana, is called Lakhanupa Nijjhana. And the other one, Aramanupa Nijjhana, can be simply called as Samatha jhana. So there are two kinds of jhana, Lakhanupa Nijjhana and Samatha jhana, or Aramanupa Nijjhana. So these two, the first one, Aramanupa Nijjhana, can be simply called as Samatha jhana, and Lakhanupa Nijjhana can be simply called as Vipassana jhana. But this Vipassana jhana is only part of Lakhanupa Nijjhana. Jhana means contemplating, concentrating on the object of meditation. And the two kinds of jhana, Aramanupa Nijjhana, is simply called as Samatha jhana, and Lakhanupa Nijjhana, part of Lakhanupa Nijjhana, which is Vipassana, can be called Vipassana jhana. So briefly, to make it simple to understand, yogis can just know it as Samatha jhana and Vipassana jhana. Jhana is explained in many ways in the text. Another word for jhana is upanijjhana. Upanijjhana means observing, contemplating, and how one should observe, how one should contemplate. Is it from a distance, or is it to contemplate ordinarily? It is not so. When it is said that one should contemplate, one should observe, it means that one should observe, one should contemplate very closely. So, pa jhana, it means that one should contemplate, one should observe very closely. And one should contemplate, observe very closely on the object of meditation. If one is practicing samatha, one should contemplate and observe closely on the kasina devices, which are concept. So one should concentrate, contemplate, and observe fully on these objects of meditation. And one should not be observing haphazardly, and one should not be observing only part of the object. Ni here means whole or completely, without any remainder. So one should be observing, contemplating the whole object of meditation. One should observe and contemplate the entire object of meditation. And when one is practicing samatha, one should be contemplating, observing on the entire object of samatha meditation. And when one is practicing Vipassana meditation, one should be observing, contemplating closely on the sabhava lakkhana, unique or individual characteristic, and samanya lakkhana, universal characteristic of impermanent suffering and non-self. In this way, jhana means practicing, contemplating, observing on the object of meditation completely, so that the entire object of meditation is observed and contemplated. When one is looking at an object from a distance, then one may want to take a look at the object, and if one wants to see it clearly, one needs to come forward, one needs to go closer to the object. When the person goes closer to the object and look at it closely, one will see it clearly. So one needs to take a closer look at the object in order to see it clearly. And when one is in the same way, when one is practicing samatha jhana, one should observe closely on the kasina object, which is concept. In order to see, in order to observe the object, one needs to aim the noting mind towards the object, and one should put effort so that the noting mind will reach the object of meditation. Asserting these two factors, aiming and effort, and as the yogi practices, the noting mind will be very close to the object, and thus one will see the object very clearly. The mind will be calm, tranquil, and serene. When practicing Vipassana jhana, one needs to observe and contemplate on the sabhava lakkhana, unique or individual characteristics of nama rupa phenomena. And also one should contemplate on samanya lakkhana, universal or common characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self. In order to know sabhava lakkhana, unique individual characteristics, and samanya lakkhana, universal or common characteristics, one needs to concentrate at the object where the characteristics takes place. And as soon as the object of meditation arises, one should concentrate and one should note with aim and effort. In order that the noting mind will be face to face or direct with the object, one needs to aim the noting mind towards the object, and one should put effort so that the noting mind will reach the object of meditation. So, in order that the noting mind should be concurrent with the object, needs to aim and direct the mind towards the object, and in order that the noting mind reaches the object, one should put effort. So by applying aim and effort, one's noting mind will be very close with the object. The noting mind will be very close to the sabhava lakkhana, unique or individual characteristics, and also samanya lakkhana, common characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self. When the noting mind is very close to the object, when the noting mind is face to face or direct with the object, the person will come to know the sabhava lakkhana, unique or individual characteristics, and also samanya lakkhana, universal or common characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self. In the practice of Vipassana, jhana is involved. Jhana, the contemplation or observation of the object very closely, is involved in Vipassana practice. For example, when the yogi is noting rising and falling of the abdomen, when rising arises, one needs to aim the noting mind towards this rising of the abdomen, and one should also put effort so that the noting mind will reach the rising of the abdomen. When the yogi aims the noting mind towards the object and put effort on the rising of the abdomen, yogi will come to know the stiffness, tension, which is the sabhava lakkhana, which is the unique characteristic. So when the noting mind is very close to the rising of the abdomen, yogi comes to know stiffness and tension, and also the noting mind will be rubbing against the object, and it is called upa. Upa means very closely, and ni means completely or entirely. So the noting mind will be very close to the entire object of meditation. When the object of meditation is very wide, one needs to pinpoint the object. Saraji gives an example. If the person is looking at a group photo, one will not see clearly, so one needs to pinpoint the person, or one needs to circle the person at a particular person. So when you pinpoint or when you circle a particular person, you will be able to see the person very clearly. In the same way, when practicing, when the object is very widespread, one needs to pinpoint an area so that one can see it very clearly. And what is the difference of samatha jhana and vipassana jhana? Samatha jhana takes paññatti or concept as the object. There are concepts, such as form or shape concept, and also there is name concept. Concept is not true nature, it is just name, that it is just something that does not exist. And in the concept, there is no sabhava lakkhana, there is no unique or individual characteristic, and also there is no common characteristic of impermanent suffering and non-self. So paññatti is not true nature, and it is just things that does not really exist. Practicing samatha jhana is contemplating on paññatti concept. And vipassana jhana is contemplating on the characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self of nama rupa phenomena. At first, one has to contemplate on the sabhava lakkhana, unique characteristic of the nama rupa phenomena, And as one is observing on these nama-rupa phenomena, the universal or common characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self will be evident to the yogi automatically by observing the nama-rupa phenomena. So observing these characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self is the Vipassana jhana. Samatha jhana is just to calm and tranquil the mind, and this samatha jhana takes paṇḍitā concept as the object. And Vipassana jhana contemplates on the characteristics of impermanent and suffering and non-self of the nama-rupa phenomena. So Vipassana is observing things that really exist. So the difference is that samatha jhana takes paṇḍitā concept as object, and Vipassana jhana it takes the characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self of the nama-rupa phenomena. So samatha jhana is the practice that one has to observe on paṇḍitā concept. So one has to contemplate on something that does not really exist. And Vipassana jhana is contemplating on things that really exist, so that one will know very clearly. In order to practice Vipassana jhana, one has to make use of samadhi jhana or concentration vehicle. Samatha means calming, tranquilling the defilements such as raga, so that there will be no agitation, and thus the mind is calm and tranquil. And practicing Vipassana involves jhana, and also jhana factors are involved in the practice of Vipassana. To explain it practically, when the yogis are doing sitting meditation, they are asked to note rising and falling of the abdomen. Rising is just the name, and there is name in many languages. So rising is just the name. In other words, it is called taccā paṇḍitā or nama paṇḍitā, name concept. But the true nature that is involved in the rising is stiffness, tension, movement, and so on. So rising is just the name, and the true nature is stiffness, tension, and movement. So stiffness, tension, movement is the true nature. In the same way, when one is noting falling, falling is just the name, and the true nature involved in falling of the abdomen is relaxation, movement, and so on. And at the beginning of the practice, these unique characteristics of stiffness, tension, movement is not obvious or not evident to the yogi at the beginning of the practice. So when this unique or individual characteristic is not evident, the common characteristic, common or universal characteristic is not evident to the yogi, and thus Vipassana has not arisen yet. That's why when practicing Vipassana, one needs to practice samadhi, concentration vehicle, as a practice of Vipassana. So when rising occurs, one needs to note rising. As soon as the rising of the abdomen takes place. So in order to note it, as soon as the rising of the abdomen takes place, one needs to aim the noting mind towards the object, and one should put effort so that the noting mind will reach the object of meditation. So this aiming, directing the noting mind towards the object, it is one of the jhanic factor. It is called vitakka. Vitakka is the aiming or directing the noting mind towards the object, and this vitakka is one of the jhanic factor. In order that the noting mind reaches the object of meditation, one needs to put effort. One needs to be alert, active, and ready to note the object. And also, one should put ardent effort in the practice. So, in order that the noting mind should be face to face with the object, in order that the noting mind should be concurrent with the object, one needs to aim the noting mind towards the object. Aiming alone is not enough. If the yogi aims the noting mind and does not put effort, then the noting mind will not reach the object of meditation. So the yogi needs to put effort. Putting effort alone is not enough. If the yogi puts effort without aiming the noting mind will land elsewhere and not on the object. That's why one needs to aim the noting mind as well as put effort so that the noting mind will be concurrent with the object of meditation. So here, the jhanic factors of vitakka is involved. Vitakka is aiming, directing the noting mind towards the object. It is the initial application of the mind onto the object. And also, vichara, sustained application, is also one of the jhanic factors. Having vichara present, the noting mind runs onto the object. And Saraji gives an example of sewing. Vitakka, initial application, is compared to piercing the needle into the material. So the piercing of the needle into the material is compared to vitakka. And when one pierces the needle into the material, the thread follows, and the thread will keep the two pieces of material intact and connected. So the thread keeping the two materials intact is compared to vichara. So, in order that the noting mind should be concurrent with the object, as soon as the object arises, one needs to apply these two factors of vitakka and vichara. So, in the example of sewing, when the person puts the needle into the two pieces of material, this is compared to vitakka. So when the needle is pierced into the two pieces of material, thread follows the needle, and the thread will keep the two pieces of material connected, intact, and bonded together, so that the two pieces of material will become one. So this tying of the thread into the two pieces of material so that the two material will be intact is compared to vichara. So if yogis can apply these two factors, vitakka and vichara, say there is one moment of noting per second. In 1 minute, there will be 60 times noting. and there will be 60 times, 60 moments of Vitakka and Vichara present. And when the yogi can note 5 minutes continuously, yogi will have 300 notings, and there will be 300 moments of Vitakka and Vichara. So this Vitakka and Vichara is compared to the flowing of the two materials together. When the yogi is able to note with aim and effort, when Vitakka and Vichara are present, the noting mind and the object, even though they are apart from each other, the object and the noting mind